Welcome to the Redemption Podcast Show. I'm U.S. Army veteran and poetic human John Krotec.
And I am a former professional fighter, the champion soul, Jason Freebird Freeman. In a sincere effort to help others and to set some records straight, we share our personal stories and scripture and offer real solutions to overcoming the challenges of life.
We appreciate you being here. And remember, the truth
shall set you free.
Welcome back to another episode of the Redemption Podcast. We really appreciate you being here. I'm here with Jason Freebird Freeman to separate truth from fiction. You know, you've heard that before, and we're just glad you've come back, and here we are. Hey, Jason, how you doing, buddy?
What's going on? Beautiful day. Thanks for having me on here. Of course, I'm a co-host, but who else would be here? I'm ready to share some good stuff. We've got, we're talking about DNA today. I love that topic.
Yeah, DNA today, you know, and it is a good topic. DNA is the genetic markers that can basically put to rest anybody's questions or doubts that somebody is who they say they are, or that they didn't do something in a crime scene or something like that. In fact, there's been people 40 years later, because they've got these DNA markers now that have that knock on their door. Hey, Mr. So-and-so, we're here to talk to you about a crime that took place, and we've got your DNA. So, yeah. And the reason why we're talking about it today is because a lot of people have accused Jason Freeman, my co-host and friend, of not being who he says he is. Well, the courts have determined that he is who he says he is, not through DNA, but through the paper trail and the lines right back to that notorious cult figure who's been the topic of conversation for a long time. So Jason is in the process now of finding out how to get his DNA tested to put to rest all of the doubts, all of the haters. Then the question I have, once it's proven again, then what? You know, that's the question. So tell us about
And it's, it's funny, John, because people don't want to see certain things be the truth, and they want to portray to have the truth themselves. And whenever things come out to be something different than what others expect, people have their agenda, their focus points. And like for me, when I started to build a relationship or start to create one in 2011 with my grandfather, I had no clue that we would have conversations past the first one, or let alone write letters back and forth, right? And I got to meet in that period of time in between 2011 and 2017, whenever he passed away. I got to meet a few of his real close friends. And when I was in California, speaking with George Stimson, he was eyeballing me the whole time. I didn't know what was going on, right? And from a distance, I seen him looking at me, and then once we got up close, he looked at me in my eyes and said, "Jason, I'm looking at you through and through because I see your grandfather." He says, and if I thought any inclination of doubt, he said, I wouldn't still be sitting here through this interview. And just that feeling of getting to know one of my grandfather's longtime friends, and for him to see that resemblance in me, it was a good feeling, you know. Now, I gave my DNA to a couple other friends of his in 2011, a couple good friends, and they even told me if it comes back where it's not a match, we'll let you know. And that was what, 13 years ago, 12 years ago. And then, um, like for me and my mom, she's always told me, Jason, you are who you are. Just, pretty much keep it under your hat. Don't talk about it. Don't raise a stink about it. So I when I began my relationship with my grandfather, my mother didn't want that to happen. She thought for sure somehow, some way he would be able to manipulate me and plant seeds on the inside of me to further whatever might be out there. But I slowly got to get my mom to realize this is something that I had to do, and I had to get that relationship bond together so that him and I could open up some different unanswered questions, and one of them is I wanted to know answers about my grandmother, about my father. And then once we started doing the research back with the DNA on my father's side of the family, there's multiple amounts of people that are in our DNA circle or genealogy. And that's what really helped my mind set at ease, probably 5 or 6 years ago. Once I revealed that part, that's what made me feel a lot more comfortable, and to know it was safe. I felt safe to walk, to walk forward, to walk into the court case, to receive my grandfather's body, and just to be in the case right now. I tell you what, I would have bowed out years ago if I would not have found the facts that I found to be where I'm at now.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jason. Thanks for sharing those things. And when I think about it from an outsider looking in, I was 10 years old in 1969, which was when those crimes with the Manson family were perpetrated. So
Yeah,
the vision and the view that I had of it was something different, and not than what you had, but was the same that the whole world saw. And so I wonder, well, why do these people
yeah,
come out of the woodwork now with the will and books being written, and everybody cracking a joke sometimes about the Manson? He's like Manson, not you, but whoever they're talking about. And so there's what I'm seeing is that why all the hate and why all the involvement? Well, the people that are doing that, I think there's a lot of money involved. And I think for the last several decades, millions of dollars have been made over books, articles, interviews,
artwork.
Halloween costumes,
Yeah,
artwork, whatever that has the likeness of your grandfather or has something to do with him. People made a lot of money, and there's and and that's okay. It's okay to make money. It's okay to
yeah,
be innovative. We're in the land of opportunity here in the United States. But so then what's surprising to me is that when somebody shows up who has an actual direct bloodline to the person who's being profiteered off of, everybody's up in arms about. So I would say this, well, to those people that are making money on your grandfather's likeness or persona, well,
yeah,
why shouldn't my co-host be involved and make some money as well, especially if
yeah,
he's going to take the money and turn around and try to change people's lives with it, and not just enrich his life, but actually use it for like his Frontline Warriors community outreach program or the Decide to Fight online program. Why not? And if the DNA test does come back, I find it interesting that those never did. But if the DNA test does, the recent one that we're going to do, does come
yeah,
back and it's positive, I say power to you. And I say make a percentage royalties on all those people that are using the funding to enrich their lives and not really try to help anybody. Jason, the only reason I even got involved with you, and I'll say it here publicly, because a mutual friend of ours introduced us, and I balked. I had a good mentor friend of mine say, "Don't even get involved with that. You
Mm.
know, don't do that." And it took me what 3 or 4 months to even reach out to you to figure out what
Yeah.
you were all about, right? And then when I did, I thought to myself, "Wow, this guy's different from what people have been telling you." And there's an opportunity here to maybe be part of changing the narrative, the stories that have been told, some true, some not, about your grandfather, which led to the ultimate suicide of your dad. But there's an opportunity
Yes.
here. And look at this Redemption podcast show. There's an opportunity to talk about the things that are truthful that, when you told me that you were doing this ministry and you told me that you wanted to change people's lives, that's one of the first things that you told me.
Yes.
And I thought to myself, well, that's not what I've been hearing from people. I've been hearing different things about Jason. So we developed a
Yeah.
relationship, which is what business is all about. A
It's
trusting,
where it starts.
had you over at my house. I don't invite people to my house unless I really want to get to know them or I trust them. You and I smoked and joked, sat around, recorded episodes, had fun doing it, and then it morphed into
Yes.
this, and then you hired me. I'm going to tell it. You hired me for a fee to help you to develop the tools that you now have to do the things that you told me you said you were going to do. Did everything I say, is
Yes.
that the way it happened, Jason?
John, I tell you what, when Richard Caruso introduced us together, um, after Richard and I's conversation, um, I didn't, I personally thought in my mind, I'm so busy with work and focused on taking care of my family that I don't want to meet another person, right? Because I meet so many people. Who's here to look out for my best interests? Who's here to look out for who's under my roof? And there's not a lot of people that I found out throughout my path that is interested in helping out that next person. John, and I understand. I totally understand. There's times I tell people up front, if, even if we're looking at doing business together or if we're training together in the public's eye, you guys have to know who I am, who my grandfather was, so that nobody's surprised or starstruck or anything out of the ordinary. I'm just a I'm just an everyday guy that has big dreams and big goals, and I do want to make a difference in this world, in the community around us, and help affect the people that really need help. And we've got widows, orphans, people on the street. I mean, there's so much work out there to be done. There's a harvest, but there's not that many laborers. So I'm one of God's laborers that has taken that task on, and we built you and I together in the past 3 years. You have helped me develop Frontline Warriors community outreach in many different steps. Decide to Fight, my online program. You can find that at jasonfreebirdfreeman.com, and you can look up our outreach program on there. You can look at my course. We have a book we're working on, Champion Soul, and that book is uh, based on redemption, overcoming the things of your past, and stepping into the purpose of who you know you are, instead of holding on to what the rest of the world wants to paint on your back. Because we don't need to be a part of what used to happen. We need to be a part of being in the present, and consistently building for what's to come. And what's to come is the next generations. John, I want to make a big difference because I see how my grandfather was raised, and I see where he went. I see how my father was raised, and I see where he went, and I know how I was raised, and look how I'm ending up. I had a great mother, a great stepfather. We didn't have everything, but we had love in the house, and that's what matters.
Absolutely. And again, I say, time for the DNA. We'll do the DNA and it'll come out. Of course, we'd love to make that public when we get the results. But I will tell you this, and it's not to just, paint a rosy picture. Everything that we do in our lives is challenging. But one thing that I have learned, people have this image of you in the past. There's people out there that have an image of me in the past. I'm not going to say that I'm the same, but I've always tried to do the right thing. And what I've learned is the truth
shall set you free.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks for tuning in to another episode. We're going to let you know when we get those results, the big reveal like they do on HGTV, after they've reconstructed something. But anybody out there, and we know for a fact that there are people that are struggling. And we know for a fact that the programs and the fires that we've been through can help you. So like Jason mentioned, visit jasonfreebirdfreeman.com. Sign up for Decide to Fight if you want to fight it out and overcome those traumas that you're dealing with. Because we know, as we would say in the Army, it's a target-rich environment. There's lots of people out there that need the help that we can provide. And if you want to write it out, go to my website, johntkrotec.com, and sign up for HEARTSCRIBES. Decide to fight it out, or decide to write it out. Jason, we'll see you at the next one. Thank you very much. And thank you for listening.
Thanks for having me. Yes.
Thanks again for listening to this episode of the Redemption Podcast Show. We hope you got some wisdom out of it. Don't forget, the truth
shall set you free.